Okay, Unbound, Anne E. Berg. Starting on page 193, they just found a patty roller sleeping. Still holding on to Willie, old George Cooper unties the rope and vine tarp. Oh, page 193 if I didn't say that. What crossed the two trees that lifted the patty roller off his horse and thumped him to the ground above us. Lucky we heard him before he saw us, he says. Now let's hurry. My mouth's dry and fear's grinding my bones to dust. Is there more patty rollers out searching? Does Master Allen know? Over and over I hear the missus reminding me that you are nothing but a slave who needs to learn her place. Over and over I hear her telling me that the folks that I love is all in danger because of me. Old George Cooper leads the way, carrying Willie in one arm and a coil of rope and vine in the other. Mama's next, holding the gun away from her body like a dead squirrel that's got maggots crawling on it. Me and Thomas follow, with Uncle Jim and Aunt Sarah close behind. Old George Cooper brings us to a small stream that rolls cool, clear water. Drink quick, he says, filling his canteen. The hiding cave's just beyond the marsh and around the bend, but we need to hurry. That patty roller will be waking up soon, and I doubt he'll come looking without his gun, but we don't know if he was a loner. Tiny fish shimmy through the rocks in the stream, while we quick drink and splash our faces. Mama cups her hands with eyes still closed. The boys drink whatever water that don't leak through their fingers, her fingers. I wonder how it feels to be a tiny fish that flitters and darts all free. I wonder how it feels to be in the cool, clear water, what runs without being chased. That's beautiful writing. Old George Cooper hurries us into the marsh. With each step, mud and water ooze between my toes. That swampy smell chokes me. Filmy green strands of grass cling to my legs, and tiny insects pinch my arms. I keep thinking I hear patty rollers creeping behind us, but the only sounds is our own footfalls and the mournful wail of the dove. Feels strange to be walking outside in the morning without orders from Aunt Tempy. Trees hide some of the light, but still in the woods glisten a beautiful copper yellow. Trembling fear pushes us along, till we just round the bend, a tangle of maypop and nettle. Those are plants. Old George Cooper turns and smiles. You see them hanging branches? He says. We almost home. Fear and guilt still grip my bones, but I'm breathing the faintest scent of freedom. And not all my trembling comes from fear. Home is a cave dug deep in the canebrake, buried neath the bear-sized tree, what's lying on its side, and it's covered with a tangle of laurel and pine. Old George Cooper lifts the heavy, sweet-smelling branches. Welcome, he whispers, like he's holding open the door to the big house. Step careful. Once we's all inside, old George Cooper steps in front of us and lights a pine torch. In all my imaginings, I had never seen a place like this. A few dirt steps down from the openings, a room almost as large as the missus' bedroom. Uncle Jim don't look surprised, but Mama squeals and starts crying like she did the first time I sneaked out of the big house to see her. Go ahead and put the boys down, old George Cooper says, nodding to the back corner where a row of pine log beds is lifted off the ground and covered with old shirts and dresses, all sewed together to make a quilt. When I put him down, Willie opens his eyes, but he closes them right up, and I sit beside him. I look around. Against the wall is a tree stump table and 4 chairs. It's made of twisted branches. On the table is spoons of every size, and pots and pans with broken ladles and dented sides. In the corner closest to the branch door is another small table that holds a crushed tinder box with some pieces of flint. But most wondrous of all is a little fireplace made of stones and broken brick. Old George Cooper smiles. It gets out the old and wet smell, he says. Where did all this come from? I ask, thinking that I could live here forever and wishing Anna was here too. I got friends that help me, old George Cooper says, and most everyone that visits leaves something behind. Isn't we going to stay here? I ask. No one will ever find us here. Mama shakes her head. This is just a stopping place. We'll stay here till we make a plan. A whole pile of worms is crawling in my belly, but I'd rather be here than anywhere else. Thomas starts whining, and he wakes up Willie. They're still too groggy to be wild, but anyway, Aunt Sarah tries keeping him quiet by teaching him how to draw pictures on the dirt floor. Old George Cooper is explaining that the hollow pipe that he carries, what carries the fireplace smoke underground into the swamp. So he's got this hollow pipe that puts their smoke into the swamp. That's odd. Oh, to hide the smoke. Sorry, I'm thinking as I'm reading this. Patty Rollers is always looking for smoke, he says. You can't be too careful, though I never had one track me in here. Finally, we unwrap our stale muffins and sit at the table or on the floor or make our own permission to eat. It's morning, but we've been walking all night and my body aches to lie down. Uncle Jim says before anyone can rest, we need to learn the rules of running. There ain't no going out in the daytime, he says, looking at Thomas and Willie with squinty eyes, and no speaking above a whisper. But where are we going? What happens next? I ask. After we get some rest, we'll talk about what happens next. Everyone settles in, pondering their own thoughts. Soon, I'll have to tell Mama about the weevil and Anna spilling cider and about what happens in the smokehouse. I gotta tell her the truth about my blackberry scratches and the Mrs. Cold Fingers, what felt like fire on my face. I gotta tell her about my haughty voice. That made the missus hiss, and the words are still rolling in my ears. You are nothing but a slave who needs to learn her place. I'm not sure where my place is, but I know it's not in the big house.